Hello everyone, my name is James Stoker, and today I'm going to be telling you a little bit about the Canoe Conundrum Lab. We did this lab a little bit while ago. It was Lab 8. So in this lab, we're going to be observing Pascal's principle. Now, Pascal's principle deals with the pressure transmission of fluids, and what this means is that as pressure is exerted on a certain part of a fluid, in this case it's water, the water is displaced to another place to exert pressure in that place. So in this situation, we're going to be using a simulation canoe in various situations, and we will be observing marks on both the canoe, which in our case will turn out to be a styrofoam cup, and the pool, which in our case will be a bucket filled with water. Here's our apparatus. On the left, you can see our bucket filled up with water. And then we have our styrofoam cup that will be serving as our canoe in this situation. Then we have our large rock, and I used 6 quarters inside the cup at all times to balance out the cup, make sure it was standing upright so that I could keep my observations consistent with the lines on the side of the cup and the side of the pool. Now, the first part of this lab was actually to make predictions, to theorize what we believed would happen. And the first thing we kind of have to understand about this is that there were certain stipulations in place. The pool is of a certain size so that the canoe takes up a large part of the pool's surface area, and then the rock is of great mass. Both of these are important because with the canoe taking up a large portion of the surface area and the rock being of great mass, we'll be able to observe Pascal's principle and Archimedes' principle, watching the displacement of fluids and seeing how the pressure change affects the water level. There are multiple parts to this lab. We will be looking at the rock in the canoe. That is our starting situation. We'll be looking at when you take the rock out of the canoe and put it on the side of the pool. Then we'll be looking at when the rock is in the water and not in the canoe, not on the side of the pool, in the water by itself, with the canoe still in the water. Then the fourth situation we have is with a beach ball, which in my simulation I used a ping pong ball since I thought it would be similar. In this situation, we won't be using a rock at all. We'll be observing what happens when the ping pong ball is in the cup, when it's in the side of the pool, and then when it's in the pool and not in the cup. The predictions that we made going into this, I predicted that the rock originally, while it was in the canoe, would be at level with the mark on the cup and the mark on the bucket. This makes sense because it's our starting situation, and that's exactly where I would mark the lines, so it better be where I put them. The next part, when you take the rock and put it on the side of the bucket, for this part I theorized that the water level would drop below the line on the cup and below the line on the bucket. Now I say this because I've seen before that when there's more weight inside of a styrofoam cup, the cup tends to be lower down in the water. And when I look at this, I see that the water displacement will be different with the cup deeper inside the water than when it's above the water a little bit more. And then my prediction originally about the rock being in the water was that the rock would displace the water in the same way that it did while it was in the cup. So the water level would be back to where it was on the bucket, and that the cup would still be higher up above the water so that the mark would be above where the water level is. Then the last prediction I had was that when I was using the ping pong ball, it would not have an effect on the situation at all, that the line would stay the same whether the ping pong ball was in the cup, whether it was on the side of the bucket, or whether it was in the water and not in the cup. Looking at our experimentation, the first observation that we make is on the left. This is our starting situation. As you can see, there is a line right there that matches up with the cup. There was a line on the side of the bucket that matches up with that water level. That makes sense because that's where I put them. I put them in the spot where our start situation would be so that we can use that to determine later on how the cup and the bucket line are being affected in our certain situations. The first thing that I did to change the situation was I removed the rock And as you can see on the right, the water level in the bucket dropped below where the line was originally, which is according to what we theorized before. Then the picture on the left here is the cup when the rock was removed. As you can see, the water level is far below the line that we originally started with, which again goes along with what we theorized. Then the next situation is with the rock in the water. This is where my observations differed from what I theorized. Now, in theory, I believed that the rock would displace the water in the same way that it did while it was in the cup versus when it was in the water by itself, but this did not hold to be true. As you can see by the picture, the water level is certainly higher than it was without the rock in the water, but it's not back to the original start point. And we'll talk about why this happens a little bit later. The last experimentation observation that we had was with the ping pong ball. I neglected to put this on here because nothing happened. The ping pong ball did not change any of the situations. It looked just the same as this picture on the left right here, whether the ball was in the cup, whether it was in the water, whether it was on the side of the bucket, didn't matter. The ping pong ball did not do anything. Now, explaining our results a little bit, as I said before, some of my predictions were correct. With the rock being taken out of the cup, we saw that the water level dropped below both of the lines. Now this makes sense because there's less displacement of fluid. This goes in line with Archimedes' principle that the displacement of water would drop the level in the bucket. And then looking at Pascal's principle, the pressure transmission of fluids, there was less pressure being exerted by the cup with less weight inside the cup. So the cup rose above where it was originally in the water, causing the water to drop lower on the cup than where the line originally was. This goes hand in hand with Archimedes' principle in observing the water level drop below the line on the bucket as well. There's less cup in the water, meaning there's less water being displaced, therefore dropping the water level on the bucket. Now, looking at the incorrect prediction that I had, I originally predicted that the rock would displace the water in the same way it did while it was in the cup versus when it was just in the water. I was a little bit off on this. Now, what went wrong? Looking at the situation and really thinking about Archimedes' principle, Pascal's principle, what went wrong here? Looking at the cup with the rock in it, there's a certain volume of water displaced for the pressure and the surface area that it's exerting on the water. What changes when it's just the rock in the water is there's less volume and less surface area touching the water, affecting the water level. So when the rock is inside the cup, it's displacing a certain volume, displacing a certain surface area of the water, and that's a greater volume, greater surface area, because there's air surrounding the rock inside the cup, but the rock still wants to sink down. Now, when the rock is by itself inside the water bucket, there's not that same surface area, there's not that same volume that's being displaced because there's not air around it like there was in the cup. This caused it to displace still a good amount of water, but not the same amount of water that it displaced while it was in the cup. So that is what went wrong when predicting that. But we fixed that in our explanation here. So in conclusion, we're observing the Canoe Conundrum, which is a great name for this because it's quite a confusing concept if you don't understand how Archimedes' principle and how Pascal's principle work, and how the displacement of water is affected by the weight being exerted, causing the pressure to change, causing the displacement of water to differ in both the situation with the cup and then with the rock. We get a better understanding of Archimedes' principle and Pascal's work by seeing how the water level was able to drop when the rock was taken out of the cup, how the cup rose above the water with less weight inside the cup, with less pressure being exerted on the surface of the water. And then what would I do differently? Looking at this lab, it's obviously kind of hard to do stuff differently. It would be interesting to see what would happen if we used a different fluid of different viscosity, something like that. But a thing that I thought would be interesting is if we did this on a larger scale, took it to like a Mythbusters level, had a big pool with a very large surface area canoe, and then a rock of very great mass. What would happen if we did this on a larger scale? Would it scale up proportionally? I would assume so, because that's what Archimedes and Pascal were talking about in their situations, were these large scale situations. So I would imagine that it would do the same thing. But if not, that would be an interesting thing to observe. Right about now, I'd be asking you all for questions, but since you're not here, just feel free to email me if you have any questions about the Archimedes principle or Pascal's work, or how the Canoe Conundrum itself works out. Other than that, thank you for stopping by and listening to my presentation on the Canoe Conundrum.